Well, I'm joined in the studio now by a man whose company has done very well out of the market recovery over the last year. A company that he founded when he was just 25 years old. Despite that, Howard Shore says he is just an entrepreneur who's interested in finance. So what else is he interested in? Well, football and politics, of course. So let's talk through that lot. Howard Shore is with me now in the studio. Howard, good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Some very good results out for you today. What does that say in general about how the city's doing?
I think it talks about our business specifically. I mean, obviously we had a terrific year. I'm really delighted. We had a one-off gain of 63 million from a rise in net assets from an acquisition, but even excluding that, we made 18 million pre-tax from the core operations, and that's what really pleases me. All areas of the business did well.
And you've grown in this difficult time, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we found in the past that when times are difficult, you pick up good people. Yeah. If your business is clean, you're not dealing with legacy problems, it gives you a chance to take advantage of opportunities when they arise.
And how do you feel at the moment the city's competitiveness is? I know you've been very concerned about a kind of an exodus. That hasn't quite happened yet on a huge scale. Are people waiting until to see what happens with the election?
Yeah, I don't anticipate a mass exodus, but I think we've got to be careful not to kill the goose that lays the golden egg. The financial services business is our #1 industry, and it's really important that we nurture and protect that.
It may well be that a lot of people in the city are looking closely at what happens on the 6th of May, if that's when the election is.
Yeah.
Do you think that a lot of businesses that have got a big exposure to the UK at the moment are feeling a little bit like they're in limbo, waiting to see what happens next?
Yeah, I think there's uncertainty, and that's very unhelpful. I mean, businessmen want to know where they stand and get on with their business. They don't want government interference. They want clear ground rules and get on with their business. We don't have clear ground rules.
And the worst possible outcome then would be a hung parliament.
Yeah, I think, you know, from my perspective, any outcome that sees Gordon Brown continue to be Prime Minister would be the wrong outcome. But clearly a hung parliament is the worst of all.
Now, you know, make no bones about it, you're a long-term Tory supporter.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just what do you think is going to be the... If you were talking to David Cameron, George Osborne now, they rode back a little bit from what they originally said pre-Davos about those big cuts to the deficit. Do you still think that that's what should be done?
Yeah, I think the government, whoever gets into power, has to tackle the government deficit as a #1 priority. And I think that if not, the private sector will be crowded out. The sooner we deal with the deficit, the easier it will be in the medium to long term for the economy to resume growth.
Now, there is an argument that whoever gets in, an argument I suspect you're going to disagree with, that they will cut the deficit a bit, but they will also have to raise taxes, and they'll certainly have to keep taxes high in the medium to long term. That's not going to help the city, is it? Look,
I believe that if you encourage entrepreneurs, you encourage small companies, you allow people to employ people, the British economy can be very resilient and very resourceful, as it was in the Thatcher years. So I think with the right conditions, we can create growth and avoid big tax hikes. But we need to cut government expenditure.
And government expenditure would be your #1 thing, particularly in the, I mean, public sector expenditure is something that you think is going to have to be tackled with a great big axe, right?
I think it needs to be. I think the real shame of the last 10 years is that we've had a huge explosion in government expenditure, and unfortunately the money hasn't been well spent.
Now, how damaging do you think the Lord Ashcroft affair is? People who accuse Cameron's party of being elitist are surely buoyed by the fact that we've got a Lord Ashcroft, a non-dom, who may well have been signalling, tunnelling money in through that wasn't paid tax on.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can really specifically comment on him. I don't know much about his affairs. I do have an interest in politics, but I don't know the specifics, and it's not my business, really.
Well, congratulations on some very good results today, and thanks very much for coming in to see us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.